It's 8:30 at night. The kids are finally somewhat quiet, or at least they've retreated to their rooms, and you are sitting on the edge of your bed just staring at your phone. You have a spreadsheet open, or maybe just your banking app, and you notice a gap, a very specific, very terrifying gap. It's the $250 between what your paycheck brought in this week and what the baseline bare-bones survival of your family actually costs. You've already cut the streaming services. You've already switched to generic brand cereal, which, by the way, still costs what the name brand used to cost a year ago. You've turned the thermostat down until everyone is wearing 2 sweaters. You've done everything right, but because a barrel of crude oil is sitting at $115 and the global supply chain is basically on fire, the math of your life is just fundamentally broken. So you close the banking app and you open a web browser. You type in how to make extra money fast. Instantly, you are flooded with ads. A smiling guy in a clean, brand new car tells you to drive for a rideshare app and be your own boss. A perfectly curated influencer tells you to start an e-commerce dropshipping empire from your couch. An aggressive 20-something in a rented mansion tells you to go to the local thrift store, buy vintage t-shirts, and flip them online. And for a second, you feel a little spark of hope. You think, okay, I can do this. I'll just work an extra 20 hours a week. I'll hustle my way out of the gap. I'm Karen. I spend way too much time trying to make sense of money, behavior, and why the system seems perfectly designed to keep us exhausted. And honestly, watching normal, hardworking people try to hustle their way out of a macroeconomic crisis makes my heart hurt. Because right now, in 2026, most of the side hustles being pushed on the internet are not just ineffective, they are actively, mathematically dangerous. The rules of the game have violently changed. We are living in an era of astronomical energy costs. The geopolitical crisis in the Middle East has levied a massive geopolitical tax on everything that moves, everything that ships, and everything that burns fuel. If you choose the wrong side hustle today, you aren't going to fill that $250 gap. You are going to accidentally dig the hole deeper. You are going to subsidize a massive tech company's profit margins using your own gas tank, your own tires, and your own exhaustion, and you will end the month poorer than when you started. But it's not hopeless. You just have to adapt. You have to stop playing by the 2019 playbook, and you have to start thinking like a highly defensive, incredibly cynical CFO. Today, we are going to ruthlessly audit the side hustle economy. We are going to expose the popular gigs that are secretly bankrupting people in a $115 oil market, and then we are going to pivot. We are going to outline the exact low overhead, zero commute, high margin side hustles that actually work when the world is this expensive. Grab a cup of coffee, grab a notebook, and let's rebuild your income. 1. The gig economy death trap, why driving is financial suicide. We have to start by completely obliterating the most common, most heavily advertised side hustles in the world right now, the gig economy driving apps, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Amazon Flex. If you take nothing else away from this conversation, please hear this. Driving your personal vehicle for money during a historic oil shock is financial suicide. Let's do the actual brutal math. The gig economy operates on an incredibly simple, highly exploitative premise. These massive tech companies realize that maintaining a fleet of vehicles is astronomically expensive. Cars require gas, insurance, tires, oil changes, and eventually they break down and die. So the tech companies decided, why should we pay for the cars? Let's just convince desperate middle-class people to use their own cars, and we'll just pay them for their time. In a world where gas is $2 a gallon, a desperate person can sort of make that math work. You drive for a few hours, you make $60, you put $10 in the tank, and you take $50 home. It's not great, but it's cash. But it is 2026. Gas is not $2. Gas is hovering between $5 and $7 depending on where you live because the Strait of Hormuz is functionally blocked and crude oil is through the roof. Let's say you sign up to deliver food on a Friday night. You get a ping. It's a $12 payout to pick up a pizza and drive it 7 miles across town. And then you have to drive 7 miles back to the busy restaurant zone. That is 14 miles of driving. If your car gets 20 miles to the gallon, you just burned almost a full gallon of gas. At $6 a gallon, your $12 payout just dropped to $6. But wait, we aren't done. The IRS calculates the actual wear and tear cost of driving a car, maintenance, depreciation, tires, at over 60 cents a mile. 14 miles times 60 cents is $8.40 in invisible depreciation. So you made $12, you spent $6 in direct fuel, you burned $8.40 in the long-term equity of your car. Congratulations, you just paid a tech company $2.40 for the privilege of delivering a stranger's pizza. You are not making money. You are taking a payday loan on the transmission of your Honda Civic. You are literally converting the equity of your vehicle into liquid cash at an absolutely catastrophic loss. The app shows you a green number so your brain gets a dopamine hit, but your net worth is actively shrinking. When fuel is this expensive, any side hustle that requires an internal combustion engine is a trap. You have to sever your income from your gas tank immediately. 2. The e-commerce squeeze. Why flipping is dead. All right, so if we can't drive, what about selling things from home? Every other video on social media right now is some influencer telling you to start an Amazon FBA business or to go to thrift stores, find cheap vintage clothes and flip them on eBay or Poshmark. It sounds amazing, right? You work from your laptop, you set your own hours, and you don't have to deliver pizzas. Here's the problem. It's the exact same problem you face at the grocery store, just applied to your side hustle, the diesel tax. Physical products have to physically move, and right now, moving physical objects across the country is more expensive than it has been in decades. Because commercial diesel fuel is astronomically expensive, the major shipping carriers, USPS, UPS, FedEx, have instituted massive fuel surcharges. Let's say you go to a local thrift store and you find a really cool, heavy vintage denim jacket for $10. You look it up online and people are buying it for $40. You think, amazing, I'll make a $30 profit. You take it home, you take pictures of it, you write a description, and you list it. A week later, it sells for $40. But now you have to ship it. You pack the heavy denim jacket into a box, you go to print the shipping label, and because of the diesel surcharges and the weight of the item, the shipping cost is $16. The platform you sold it on takes a 15% fee, that's $6. Let's do the math again. Revenue, $40, minus the cost of the jacket, $10, minus shipping, $16, minus platform fees, $6. Your profit is $8. But wait, how long did it take you to drive to the thrift store, hunt through the racks, drive home, wash the jacket, photograph it, list it, find a box, tape it up, and drive to the post office to drop it off? Let's say that the entire process took 3 hours. You just worked for $2.66 an hour. And if the buyer decides they don't like the fit and returns it, you eat the shipping both ways and you are entirely in the red. When global logistics are broken and fuel is at premium crisis levels, the margins on low-ticket physical product flipping completely evaporate. Unless you're selling incredibly high-end, lightweight items like rare jewelry or high-value collectibles, the shipping costs will eat you alive. You're essentially running a tiny, wildly inefficient logistics company during the worst logistics crisis of the decade. Do not play the physical product game right now. You cannot afford the freight. Hustle Category A, the Zero-Commute B2B Pivot. Okay, so driving is out and shipping physical products is out. What is left? We have to completely pivot our mindset. We have to stop trying to extract money from other exhausted, broke consumers. And we have to start extracting money from the only entities that still have capital, businesses. This is the B2B pivot, business to business. Right now, small and medium-sized businesses are terrified of the economy. They are watching their own supply costs go up, and they are terrified of hiring full-time W-2 employees. Hiring a W-2 employee means paying payroll taxes, providing health insurance, paying for office space, and taking on massive legal liabilities. They don't want W-2 employees, but they still have work that desperately needs to be done. They are exhausted, their administrative tasks are piling up, and they need help. This is where you step in. You become a zero-commute digital freelancer. You sell your brain, your organization, and your time over the internet. You do not burn a single drop of gasoline. You do not pay a single dollar in shipping fees. Your overhead is literally just your existing internet connection and a laptop. What kind of services am I talking about? Virtual bookkeeping. Small business owners are notoriously terrible at keeping their receipts organized. They hate QuickBooks. If you can take a basic online course in bookkeeping, you can charge $30 to $50 an hour to simply organize their digital shoebox of receipts once a week from your couch. Inbox and calendar management, an overwhelmed plumber or electrician who is out on job sites all day is losing thousands of dollars because he's missing emails from potential clients. You charge a flat monthly retainer of $500 to check his email twice a day, respond to basic inquiries, and put appointments on his digital calendar. Social media scheduling. Local businesses know they need to post on Facebook or Instagram to stay relevant, but they don't have the time. You aren't running a massive marketing agency. You were just taking photos they send you, writing a 2-sentence caption, and scheduling the posts for the week. Why is this so powerful? Because your margins are 100%. When you charge a business $40 an hour, you keep $40, before income taxes, obviously. There is no gas, no depreciation, no diesel surcharge. And because businesses view you as a tax-deductible expense rather than a consumer luxury, they are significantly more willing to part with their money than the guy down the street is willing to part with his pizza money. Hustle category B, the hyperlocal friction economy. Now, maybe sitting at a computer and answering emails isn't your thing. Maybe you need to be moving, or you don't have the technical comfort to cold email local businesses. That is completely fine. We can still do physical services, but we have to completely change the geography of the hustle. We have to engage in the hyperlocal friction economy. Remember what we established. Motion is expensive. Gas is a luxury. Therefore, a physical side hustle is only profitable if your commute to the job is essentially zero. If you have to drive 20 minutes across town to mow a lawn or clean a house, the gas just ate half your profit. But if you can walk there, if you can ride a bike there, or if you can drive for literally 2 minutes within a tightly packed residential neighborhood, now we're talking. You need to look at a map, draw a 1-mile radius around your house, and pretend the rest of the world does not exist. Your entire client base is now located within that circle. And what are you selling them? You are selling the removal of friction. Even in a terrible economy, there is a certain demographic of people, usually upper-middle-class dual-income households, who are extremely time poor. They are working 50 hours a week to maintain their lifestyle through inflation, and they are drowning in the domestic friction of their own lives. They have money, but they have zero time and zero energy. You solve their friction. Hyperlocal pet care. People went back to the office, but they still have the dogs they bought during the lockdown. They feel incredibly guilty leaving them alone. A midday dog walk entirely within your neighborhood where you literally just walk out your front door, pick up the neighbor's dog, walk for 30 minutes, and walk home, you charge $20. You can walk 3 dogs at once. That is $60 an hour, zero overhead, zero commute. Targeted organization, not full house cleaning. That requires massive amounts of physical labor and expensive supplies. I'm talking about targeted friction removal, garage cleanouts, organizing chaotic kitchen pantries, breaking down the massive piles of Amazon cardboard boxes that dual-income families let pile up in their garages because they are too exhausted to deal with them on trash day. You market these services exclusively on your neighborhood's hyperlocal Facebook group or the Nextdoor app. You explicitly state, I live in the neighborhood, I'm available Tuesday and Thursday evenings. The proximity is your selling point. You are reliable because you are literally right down the street, and your profit margins are massive because you're not paying the geopolitical tax to get there. 5. Hustle Category C, the Repair and Restore Rebellion. There is a third category, and this one is actually growing directly because of the macroeconomic crisis. It is the repair and restore economy. For the last 20 years, we have lived in a disposable society. Goods were so incredibly cheap to manufacture overseas and so cheap to ship across the ocean that if a zipper broke on a jacket or a toaster stopped working or a chair got a little wobbly, we just threw it in a landfill and bought a new one on Amazon for 20 bucks. That era is over. The era of cheap stuff is dead. Because of the oil shocks, the cost of plastics, shipping, and raw materials has skyrocketed. The new toaster now costs $60. The new winter coat costs $150. Suddenly, normal people cannot afford to just throw things away. They are looking at their broken items and realizing that repairing them is now mathematically cheaper than replacing them. But here's the catch. Nobody remembers how to repair anything anymore. We outsourced those skills to massive overseas factories 2 decades ago. If you have a tactile skill, your value in the local economy just went through the roof. Basic seamstress and mending work. You do not need to be a high-end fashion tailor. If you know how to reliably hem a pair of pants, replace a broken zipper on a winter coat, or patch a tear in a backpack, you have a wildly profitable side hustle. People will gladly pay you $25 to fix the zipper on a heavy winter coat because the alternative is paying $150 for a new one. You do it from your kitchen table while watching TV. Small engine and appliance maintenance. Do you know how to clean the carburetor on a lawnmower? Do you know how to replace the heating element in a dryer? Again, people are terrified of having to buy a new $800 appliance right now. If you can diagnose a simple issue, order a $15 part online, and install it for a $100 labor fee, you are an absolute hero to that family. Furniture flipping with extreme caution. I mentioned earlier that flipping physical products online is dead, but flipping locally sourced heavy furniture is very much alive. You find a beat-up, solid wood dresser on Facebook Marketplace that is located within 3 miles of your house. You stand it down, paint it, put new hardware on it, and sell it to someone else in your town. The buyer picks it up, you capture the massive value of restoring a durable good without ever paying the massive freight tax of shipping it. The repair economy is the ultimate rebellion against inflation. You are taking broken, depreciated assets, injecting your own labor, and creating value out of thin air, completely bypassing the global supply chain. Okay, so we've identified the 3 categories that actually work: the Zero-Commute B2B Pivot, the hyper-local friction economy, and the repair rebellion. But before you start printing flyers or setting up a freelance profile, I need you to do something very boring and very important. You have to learn how to audit your own time. The biggest mistake people make with a side hustle is looking at the top line revenue, the gross amount of cash they took in, and confusing it with profit. If you do this, you will burn out in a month. You need to establish your true hourly rate. Let's say you decide to do neighborhood dog walking. You charge $25 for a 1-hour walk. That sounds like you're making $25 an hour, right? Wrong. You have to factor in the invisible time. It takes you 10 minutes to walk to the client's house and 10 minutes to walk home. That 1-hour job just became an hour and 20 minutes. You also have to factor in the absolute brutality of the self-employment tax. When you work a normal W-2 job, your employer pays half of your Medicare and Social Security taxes. When you're a freelancer or a sole proprietor, you pay the whole thing. It's roughly 15.3% right off the top before you even calculate your normal state and federal income tax. So let's do the Karen math. You charge $25. You instantly set aside 30% for taxes, self-employment plus income tax. That is $7.50. You're left with $17.50. You spent 1 hour and 20 minutes of actual time. Divide $17.50 by 1.33 hours. Your true hourly rate is $13.15. Now, $13.15 an hour might still be worth it to you to close that gap in your budget. It's still positive cash flow, but you have to know the real number. You have to look at the $13.15 and ask yourself,
Am I willing to trade an hour of my evening away from my kids or my rest for $13? If the answer is yes, proceed. But if you calculate the math on a side hustle and realize your true hourly rate is $5 an hour, you have to kill it immediately. Your time and your energy are finite resources. Right now, because the macroeconomy is so stressful, your baseline exhaustion level is already incredibly high. You cannot afford to deploy your limited energy into a hustle that pays you below minimum wage once the invisible costs are factored in. You must be ruthless with your margins. If a client is difficult, drop them. If a task takes too long, raise your price. You are not a charity. You are a highly defensive financial operation. I think about money constantly, but honestly, when I look at the side hustle culture in America right now, I don't just think about the math. I think about the profound, heavy exhaustion of it all. It is deeply, fundamentally unfair that you have to work 40 or 50 hours a week at your main job, playing by all the rules, and it still isn't enough. It is infuriating that because billionaires are fighting over oil in the Middle East, you have to spend your Saturday morning trying to figure out how to monetize your hobbies just to afford groceries. You have every right to be angry about that. You are carrying the weight of a broken global system on your shoulders. But as we always say, anger won't pay the electric bill. Frustration won't fill the gas tank. The system wants you either to give up entirely and just slide into credit card debt, or they want you to frantically run on the gig economy hamster wheel, burning up your car's equity to make a few pennies for an app developer in Silicon Valley. You have to refuse both of those options. You are smarter than the trap. You understand the geopolitical tax now. You know that motion is expensive and digital leverage is free. You know that businesses have money when consumers don't. You know that repairing the old is more valuable than flipping the new. You can close the gap in your budget. You don't have to be a victim of the $115 oil barrel. You just have to look at your skills, draw a tight circle around your neighborhood or your laptop, and sell the one thing that doesn't require a drop of diesel fuel to transport: your competence. Take a breath, do the Karen math, protect your margins, and go get your money. You've got this. I'll see you in the next one.